Welcome back, everybody, to Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network. I'm your host, Niko, and I'm joined today with me, once again, as always, my co-host, Chris. How you doing, man?
All good.
Nice. I like that. That was good. Welcome back, everybody. Um, After this show airs, basically, we'll be having an announcement that will be talked about on episode 150 of Late Night Chat on the Late Night Chat Network. This will actually be airing the day after, Chris, so we can actually announce it here for you guys. We're going to be launching another YouTube channel in part with Late Night Chat Network, basically like a sister site that's going to have basically all of our comic content and card content. It's going to be Late Night Collectors Community. So this show is going to be there, cracking packs with the chat. Another show that Chris actually comes on sometimes now and then as well as Peter, Christine, a bunch of the other people that you've seen on that show have also done shows on the Late Night Chat Network. And that YouTube channel is basically already set up. There's still some uploads that are going to be being made. This show, however, you will still be able to find these new episodes on the Late Night Chat Network YouTube page for the next month. So for the remainder of January, these episodes will still be up on the Late Night Chat Network. But what I need you to go do right now is if you do watch this show and you are a fan of comics, because that is going to be the YouTube channel for you, if that's basically all you're coming to the Late Night Chat Network for is the comic content, or if you kind of like both, you like everything that we kind of do and put out here, definitely sign up. Subscribe to the Late Night Collectors Community. That's the name of the YouTube channel. I'm going to put it in the description, the link for that in the description of this video. So go make sure, guys, to click on that and make sure you're subscribed to our new YouTube page that's run by us here on the Late Night Chat Network, where you're going to find me and Chris. Moving forward past January, these shows, Comic Shop Talk, is going to be up on that new YouTube channel. And that, there's going to be my my monthly comic book hauls and review videos are going to be on there. Maybe we'll come up with some other comic stuff eventually that we'll put up there, if I have the time. And then you got cracking packs with the chat episodes that are always going to be up there as well. All of our back catalogs of all the audio podcasts, Weekly Wine Comic Time, Trade Talk, the old comic book podcasts I used to do. And basically a bunch of comic content. So if this is what you're here for, guys, make sure you subscribe. And other collectible stuff, like, we might have like a collectible kind of showcase type show that we might put out if people want to start showing off certain parts of their collection or something like that. I'm thinking about. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting what goes on over there. So if that's kind of what you tune in for, that's kind of what your thing is, definitely make sure you're subscribed to that channel, guys. That's Late Night Collectors Community. That's going to be our sister site of Late Night Chat. So, and you'll be able to find all this great stuff still on the Late Night Chat Network for the remainder of January. So after that, it's not going to be available on Late Night Chat Network no more. So make sure you subscribe to the other channel. But for the remainder of this month, you can still find these videos. They're going to be up on both YouTube channels for this period of time. So it gives you a little bit of time there, guys. So yeah, so it should be interesting. Chris, what do you think about that?
Yeah, exciting times ahead.
Yeah, there you go. So, but like I said, by the time this airs, go back and check out Late Night Chat episode 150. If you are a fan of that show as well, or you want to kind of see what our main flagship show here is on the Late Night Chat Network, it's me and a bunch of other co-hosts of ours. We got about 5 other people involved with the weekly Late Night Chat live show that we do here on the Late Night Chat Network, where we kind of just shoot the shit about whatever. All kinds of different topics of a conversation happen on that show, not just comic specific stuff. And but that's where we will have made these announcements. So definitely go back and check that out if you want to see that episode. Well, it's just done with the plugs there now. I guess we can get into the comic talk. So apologies, everybody, but it is important, and I will be mentioning it throughout the month. Moving forward, just to make sure you guys subscribe, because we're really excited for this new channel. And this is where Comic Shop Talk will be. So, all right. So,
let's talk comics. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
All right. So, first up here, big release this week, guys. Inferno #4. And I should mention, as always, guys, to talk about some of these comics, we do have to talk about some of the spoilers. So, if you're worried about spoilers, make sure you read your comics before listening to us. We'll do our best. Some things we'll leave out of the conversation if it can be helped. If not, read your comics, then come back and listen to us. So yeah, Chris has got the physical copy there. It actually happened to me this time this week, guys. My LCS had been shorted a couple of new releases, so I read a couple of these digitally on the iPad. So Inferno number 4, the last of Hickman's direction on the X-Men, kind of wrapping up the whole Hickman era, at least for him as a writer, on this on numerous X-Men books since he started a few years ago. Chris, what did you think about this?
Well, that was a good wrap up to the end there. I might have to read all 4 just to kind of get the whole gist of what's going on. A lot of action in this comic, but it wasn't sort of big, like team action. It's just a lot of little stories going on. I like seeing the stuff with Professor X and Magneto kind of going to work. I think they explained a bunch of the stuff with Nimrod and I guess that other AI that she was with.
Yeah.
But I know, I thought it was a good character, good comic, good pacing, good. The art is very detailed and exciting, let's say.
Yeah.
But I feel they could have kind of spread this story throughout maybe more of the miniseries, I guess. It just seemed to be a lot happening in this last book. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's basically read the X-Men stuff from the start of Hickman, starting on the titles with the House of X, Powers of 10, that whole mini series that he started out with, and then the subsequent kind of direction that all the books went in as a result of him being the architect of this whole new direction for the X-Men, and it bringing in a new age and a new kind of big ideas and big things like that were going to happen. And it feels like he way too soon, personally. Like, it seems like he still had some ideas left in the tank here. Like, I felt while this was a fitting and solid ending on his part, it kind of left room for, because they're obviously going to continue with the Krakoa direction. Like, they've already announced all these new titles. They even kind of I gave you a little thing about the Immortal X-Men at the end of this issue, which is a title that I will be picking up alongside the X-Men. Apparently those two books are going to be working well one off of one another. They even kind of gave you a little tease, it seemed like, at the end of this issue to kind of pick up the Immortal X-Men. There was an ad for it, and they also referenced them being immortal or something like this at the end of the issue. They threw the word immortal in at some point, right? And I was like, okay, that's what they're getting at. So I just felt like he left a lot on the table still, like you just basically said. Yeah, same deal. As someone who's kind of like followed this the whole way through as I have, it's kind of bittersweet because I feel like he probably had more ideas. Maybe I don't know if editorial kind of got in the mix and maybe pushed him off the book too soon, or he kind of was like, he set everything in motion so he could step away as he had planned. Yeah, so I don't know. It was good. It was solid. It was a solid ending. But I kind of still want more. I think there's more to be said by him. Honestly,
What would you rate Inferno as a series itself, as a mini series? Like, what was the 4 issues?
A 4, and I would also give that to this issue. I don't think it was. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a 5, but it was a solid mini series. I mean, he kind of tied up some loose ends that he kind of started. The whole main reason for this miniseries was to kind of put an end to this whole Moira McTaggart thing. And spoilers, guys, as I mentioned, basically in this issue, she reverts back to being a human, which has always been Moira McTaggart in the Marvel Universe, has always been human. Like, she wasn't a mutant. The big change that he brought to his direction of his X-Men run was that she was a mutant. So the fact that now he basically just put everything back to where it was previously, which, most writers, when they leave a title, if they do a good job, that's kind of how they leave it, right? That's basically what happened here, right? So while I found it interesting, it is what it is. I mean, like, really, and then the other big reveal, I guess, was what, now that Magneto and Charles, by the end of it, they basically get resurrected, and it seems like they're not the ones in charge anymore. It seems like, I don't know.
I don't know. Like, the whole thing of this whole series is the more things change, the more they stay the same. With all with all the hype this came out with, I don't know. That's the only downside. I like the story. maybe if it wasn't hyped so much, I might enjoy it more. But when you're always reading how everything's going to be, life changing, they're going to burn this place to the ground and nothing will ever be the same. I
I
don't know. It ends up being pretty much the same. But anyways, that's.
Why? What did you think of this miniseries overall? Were you not satisfied, or you just don't feel it?
I think it was a good series overall, but just the hype that they set up with, it just didn't live up to the hype. This was nothing game changing at the end of it. A few of the issues. I'm just looking back at one of the issues where, the big reveal at the end of, I think it was maybe the second or third issue, that Colossus was going to be one of the Quiet Council members, and he had nothing to do with this story at all, really. Even in this last issue, I think they just got a little panel of him at the end saying, "Oh, he's trustworthy." It's like,
yes,
why are you spending a whole issue to reveal him to be a Quiet Council member when it doesn't really affect the story at all?
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I think was my biggest disappointment of this, was that there wasn't anything earth-shattering that came to there wasn't anything, like you just said, other than what's changed is the current status quo. So really, he could have just did that first initial 12-issue miniseries where he set all these ideas in motion and then stepped away at that point. It seems like his work is left unfinished somewhat, because it, compared to all the ideas he put out there, you really would have rather seen this whole Krakoa direction for the book come to a close here, but it doesn't. It's going on with other writers. So there's only so much he could do, because he knows these guys are going to be playing with these toys in the toy box. You know what I mean? Like, he knows people have to pick up the pieces.
Maybe he should have just bought the toys, left them out there, and let people do what they want with them. Not instead of say, "Hey, these are my toys. This is how you have to play with them."
Yeah. I got to say, though, there's an awesome Cypher scene in this with Warlock.
Yeah,
when he got the drop, I thought that was that was it. There was a little three-way kind of little scenario.
Yeah, kind of like a little intellectual cat and mouse that they're playing in there. And that was always great to read. Like I say, it's not an action-packed or, epic battle type comic, but I think the smart comic, and it was, just kind of a little political intrigue and stuff like that. So it was a fun read.
And it's not even that Magneto and Professor X aren't in charge anymore. It's that now because they found out what they were up to behind the scenes with Moira, or at least because Moira, that's the other big reveal about her. She wanted basically to make it so the mutant gene ceased to exist, and whether or not Magneto and Professor X were involved with that, like, it seems like they were, but not to that degree that they thought. Like, they thought Moira was trying to help. Like, her bottom line was that Emma found out by reading her mind was that was what she was trying to achieve by the end of this, whereas I guess Magneto and Professor X, she was kind of stringing them along as well. But the fact that they hid Moira from everybody else because they felt they were kind of, working together with her, they basically lost trust within their circle. So that's kind of where you're left at the end of this, being like Emma's confronting them as they got resurrected, and she did the whole, to me, my X-Men type deal with them.
Yeah.
And she was basically like, yeah, you guys, you're never going to be trusted. You're not going to be looked at the same way now moving forward in this council, because now we knew what you guys were up to, essentially. Right?
Yeah. Like, I think one of those scenes with what's her name? The White Queen there, Emma Frost. Yeah. Wasn't that like one of the teasers before this thing even came out? Like, where she was standing there and saying, "To me, my X-Men," and it was like Professor X and Magneto. You're like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah.
How is this going to play out? And, it just turns to be a bit of a dud teaser, when you actually see the scene play out.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, I gave it a 4. I thought it was a solid ending for what it was. Overall, I think the miniseries was good. I don't think it's bad, but like you said, it left me wanting quite a bit. So maybe
3.5 for me, and I'm glad it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to change mine also to 3 point. I think you're right. I think overall, I think it was a solid 4, but I think you're right. This issue, it did leave me wanting quite a bit at the end, so I can't really give it a 4 in that sense. Yeah, no, I'll also give it a 3.5. You convinced me. Chris. All right, go ahead.
Well, I guess we're talking about Dark Knights of Steel, and this is one that I have to read online because my LCS is a little bit slow as well.
Right.
And so I can't really. I always feel bad giving reviews online for comics that I read online, just because I feel you can't get the whole gist of everything. But I
Right.
thought it was a great story in there. A lot of stuff going on in that Dark Knights of Steel. I think with Supergirl or Zara Al, whatever,
He's
she's
fucking
taking care of
up.
business in there.
Yeah.
And she still hasn't gone back to the House of L to kind of
No.
brainstorm with the family. She's just going rogue and doing this all on her own.
Yep. Yeah.
And
So yeah, in this issue, this is actually so far, this is my favorite issue of this series. I think it keeps getting better and better. I really
yeah, it's like they said, this is like a Game of Thrones.
absolutely.
You're seeing all the tribes play, or the tribes, whatever, the kingdoms, kind
Mm,
of playing against each other. A little bit of conniving, a little bit of trickery and tomfoolery,
yeah.
and some brutal action. Where people are dying, and that's always good to see.
Great looking art. I think
Oh
that
yeah, and that's
the
another
opening
thing.
the opening was pretty cool. You have basically like a Jimmy Olsen in this world that spots through a telescope something that's like
Yeah, a meteor or something coming down.
turns
And
out
that
it's
meteor could have some big implications too,
yeah,
because it
turns
looks like whatever. I don't know if you want to say what came down, but whatever came
yeah,
down looked like
I think
wasn't in this world before.
it's kryptonite.
Yeah,
And the opposite person, it affects the opposite person, as you know. In this, there's a bastard son to Superman in this story that we've been following so far, like the Jon Snow of the story so far, who is instead affected by this kryptonite because he got to it first, right? But they're kind of just weaving through the DC universe, dropping reference to different characters still along the way. You got the Metal Men in this, which are basically just a group of knights. Metal Men reference. You got the Black Lightning. He's a king. That's already been established. I love Harley Quinn as the court jester, and
yep.
kind of wiser somewhat, because there's a great moment here. I just wanted to bring this up where he's like, it's like, oh, it's just superstition. I come from a planet that doesn't have prophecies, because they're talking about this whole prophecy. This is Superman saying this, and then Harley's like, yeah, but the planet blew up, so maybe not the best example. It's like, I mean, an ominous forewarning could have been a little helpful there. I was like, that's good writing, man. I was like,
she's only in a few panels, but whatever she says is pure gold.
yeah, he writes a great Harley Quinn in this. That's what I mean. Like you said, like she only was on maybe those few panels in this issue,
Yeah.
but the dialogue for her scenes was excellent. Yeah, so I like that. And yeah, like you said, Supergirl's running around just killing people right now, and basically causing a rift and an emerging war essentially between these two kingdoms right now, right? Black Lightning's got him, and
there's three kingdoms right now. There's the House of L,
right,
Black Lightning Kingdom, and then the Amazons.
right. And the Black Lightning Kingdom guy comes to the Amazons and tries to get them to side with them in this.
Yeah, to get a little like, sounds like they've been sort of aligned all the time traditionally, and he's got to make sure that they're still on board.
Yeah, and Wonder Woman's like not down with that, so she kind of she flies off to basically, I guess, warn House of L or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, excellent intrigue, excellent like kind of like you said, it is basically Game of Thrones, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. Like it's basically all the people having interesting conversations against one another, action packed. Everyone's like siding with one another right now. Yeah, it's great. I look forward to this every time it comes out, man. This is one of my favorite ongoings right now, I think, honestly.
Yeah, I'm down with that one. I'm happy with that. Like I say, I like to read it every time it comes out.
What'd you give it?
I'll give that an easy 4.
I gotta give this a 4.5 because it's my favorite issue so far. Yeah, I really.
If I probably had the physical copy in my hand, that'd be an easy 4.5. Just like I'm reading it on a phone, so I'm trying to freaking scroll from side to side to fit, because I still got to make it big enough so I can see stuff. And but otherwise,
that's gonna for your enjoyment there, it's gonna affect it for sure. I get that. All right, so next up here, Chris, you got Captain America Iron Man #2, or is this 5? Is this 2 or 5? 2, yeah, okay.
Right. 2, yeah. Captain America was another Alex Ross cover. I freaking love his covers. Actually, I was looking through some of my old comics, and I found an Alex Ross cover where he did the Terminator burning Earth or something. They weren't as detailed like this, but it's still sort of the same idea. I think it was like I don't know who's that Terminator lady. I don't know who it was, but just some female character. There's just a close up like this, with some sunglasses on. Mm-hmm. But anyways, back to this comic. This is still a surprise comic. I enjoy reading it. It's great art inside, a bunch of characters that I'm not super familiar with. I think there's a Victoria or a Veronica that has something to do with Hydra, I think. I think she tried to usurp Baron Zemo or something like that. She seems to be a pretty neat character. I think they go to some shield warehouse where they dig up, I guess, all this stuff where Shield has been stockpiling weapons and things like that.
Right.
And she gets a hold of like Doc Ock's arms, a scorpion tail, and a goblin glider, and she's kind of using them all at once to fight Captain America and Iron Man. She takes it to him pretty good too, and then the story ensues.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an earth breaking story or anything, but it's still a good read. I'll give this an easy. I'll give this a 3.5.
Good characterizations of these two in this, though, for a title for making it like those guys being the main two characters in this.
There was one thing that I'm not sure when this one took place.
Okay.
Because Iron Man is talking about how he almost died or something, and he's come back. So I don't know if this is something that's happened before, or I don't know if this is happening. And maybe like I don't know what's going on in the actual Iron Man title where he's the Iron God, because he's not going to stay the Iron God forever. So I don't know if this maybe happens after that. But they're very friendly in here, and like I guess this is about both their friendship or kind of reestablishing their friendship and things like that.
Right.
Okay. That's kind of the underground theme, I guess, of this one.
Right. Okay. Cool.
And after that, we got Spawn 325, and I think this is going to be the prelude to a new Spawn series coming out, Scorched.
Yeah.
Once again, these are great comics, great stories. I still really don't have a clue what's going on in there. I'm still not sure who the villains are. They're jumping through timelines, but I enjoy reading it. There's I think there's a new appearance of somebody, a Defiler or something like that.
Okay.
But but otherwise I give this an easy 4. Just due to the story that they're building. I'm not sure who the angels are. There's some corporation. I don't know if they're a corporation of angels, but they're trying to I don't know, I guess the throne of hell is empty, and they're trying to get Spawn to side with them so Spawn can take control of hell, and I don't know what it is, but it's good.
Longest running independent comic nowadays. Not with one creative team, but it's the longest running now. It's surpassed.
Yeah, for Spawn to go to 325 after seeing all those other ones that came out with Image, freaking drop after I heard DC has access to some of those ones. Like I've heard Wetworks might be coming into some of one of the DC comics, and even Cyberforce. I don't know where I was reading it, but they might be popping up somewhere.
If they were part of Wildstorm, then it's possible, because Wildstorm DC, like if that originally started at Image, but then if it's a Jim Lee property, Jim Lee, when he went over to DC, they bought out some of his Image creations, I'm pretty sure. So that's probably
that's what I kind of think. I forgot what I was reading. I don't know if it's coming into some of these multiverse stories or anything like that, but
that's why you see the Wildcats in DC now.
Yeah, Wildcats. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. All right. Next up, we got Mazebook number 5. This is the last issue of this miniseries, written and drawn by Jeff Lemire, who I'm a huge fan of. As I talked about previously on the show, this is basically a story about a man who thinks that he hears his daughter after like having a phone call with her, his dead daughter, and him basically kind of working through the grief of losing a child like years later after the fact. And he, in his head, he believes that the girl, his daughter, talked to him, and she's been leading him through a maze of the city, which is actually like downtown Toronto, essentially. Like there's streets and maps in here that they actually reference parts of downtown Toronto. So if you're familiar with Toronto and the creators from Toronto, like you'll get the references of where he's talking about and stuff like that, and you'll see the streets on the map. So it's kind of cool in that sense too, to kind of see that in a comic, because it's not every day you kind of get to see that in a comic, right? So that was pretty cool. Basically, in this last issue, though, he confronts a Minotaur, at the center of the maze, of course, you know what I mean? Like where he basically has to finally come to terms, as you can see him. This is a flashback of him with his daughter in the hospital bed, come to terms with the fact, that she died, and even though he has already accepted that, he has like a moment where he has a vision of her being back in with her by her side in the hospital bed and talking to her. And he gets to her basically by the end of this in this maze. And she says, I'll always be with you. Like, you're the best, blah, blah, blah. And it's very fitting and very nice ending. And she's like, no, but this isn't where I was trying to lead you. And then by the end of the issue, he finds a dog, and the dog belongs to some woman who's like a friend of his that lives, I guess, in his building or something like that. And he goes and takes the dog back to her. And then she's like, hey, I'm just, you want to come in, maybe have something to eat or something like that. And he's like, okay. Like, after he's just had this like rough fucking last couple of days, probably like losing his mind after this whole, thing that he's envisioning with the maze and all that. And he's kind of now come down and he's accepted all this shit. So she brings him in, the door closes, and then you see the strand of yarn that he was following through the city, like with the maze that led into her doorway. So basically the daughter is trying to say, like, that's where she was trying to lead him this whole time. She wanted him to basically move on with his life. And like, he didn't actually meet somebody because it destroyed his marriage, the death of the kid, and all this other stuff. So it was a nice, fitting human story. Honestly, it was really great. Stuck the landing. Good story. I'm probably going to pick up the hardcover when it comes out. Yeah, I give it a 4.
Is that the end of the story then?
Yeah, it's 5 issues.
That's the end of the series?
End of the series. 5 issues. It's going to come out with a hardcover in a couple of months. I'll probably double dip on that because I just like this guy's stuff. Yeah, it was a solid series. Solid end to a solid series. I gave it a 4. Overall, I give the series a 5, though. I thought it was really well done. And also there's it's funny because when he comes out of this subway or the maze or whatever, the streets that he comes out on is hold on, I forgot which street he comes out. Yeah, Victoria Jarvis Street. I'm just like, oh, no wonder he looks like a crazy person walking around. It's just funny because he literally comes up through like a subway or something, and then he comes out on the street and it says like Victoria Jarvis, and I'm just like, oh, no wonder you're probably walking around downtown looking like a fucking crazy nut right now, right? Because at one point,
panhandlers on the corner begging.
At one point, he attacks somebody that turns out to be a person because he thinks it's the Minotaur, right? Because he's still up in his head, right? So yeah, it was excellent. I really enjoyed this guy's Mazebook. Check it out.
Nice.
And then next up, we got One Star Squadron #2. So I talked about the first issue in here. I wasn't sure if I was going to continue reading it or not, or if I was just going to pick up the trade, but I read this online. This is a way better issue than the first issue. The first issue was good, but it had a lot of setup and it wasn't as good as I was hoping. This delivered 100% on what I thought, how good this series was going to be. It's fucking hilarious, guys. Like, and a kind of an up and down week for me this week, as returning to work from the holidays and, having kind of a shitty week in a sense, just, based off that alone. I needed to laugh. This was a fucking funny issue, man. In this issue, there's a guy called Minuteman because, there's the Hour Man or something like that in DC. So he made up I guess he's maybe a pre-existing character, but he's using all these like D-list characters in this story, the writer. There's a guy called Minuteman who takes pills just like Hour Man, but he only has powers for a minute when he takes these pills. So he goes up to this like drug dealer that looks like a pimp, like in the streets, and he's like, "Hey man, I need these Miraclo pills." He's like, "Yeah, I got you, man." He's like, his name's like Teabag, the guy who's the dealer. He's like, "Teabag got you, man." he's like, "Okay, can I get some of these pills?" He's like, "I don't really got any money though. Can you like spot me just a pill?" Because he gets powers for an hour. He's like, "Okay, yeah, I got you." So he gives him the pill. And then in exchange, he tries to give him a DVD of a movie he had once upon a time, like fucking, I don't know, 20 years ago. Like, man, nobody watches DVDs anymore. Look at this trash ass movie. He's like, I don't want this. Get this out of here. And it's called Minuteman Freedom Isn't Free. And he's like on the cover, like an action film. And he's like, get this shit out of here. I don't want this. And then so he gives him the pill. And then the guy goes back to the job place that they give out these jobs to these heroes that aren't that good, right? And he allows him to go to a birthday party for kids and entertain them. So then he takes the minute pill, the Miraclo pill, and he's Minuteman, so he has powers for a minute. He's okay, guys, I'm gonna show you a bunch of things that I can do here. So in a minute, he flies, he starts like lifting heavy things, and then he's like, okay, guys, like take all these weapons and or I forgot what kind of weapons he gives them, but he basically says, here, take all these and start hammers, like basically hammers, start throwing them at me. And they're bouncing off of him. All of a sudden, you see like a timer and it says like 13 seconds left. And he starts fucking actually getting hurt by the hammers. He's like, what the fuck's going on? He's like, this thing only 45 seconds. So he starts getting the shit beaten out of him by the hammers, by the kids. So then he has to go back to the pimp and like give him shit. He's like, what kind of fucking drugs are you selling, man? That one was only good for 45 seconds. He's like, hey, man, I'm not the one who makes that. He's just like, get off, anyways, it was so funny, guys. It was just such a unexpected fucking hilarious comic. It didn't take itself seriously at all. There's all kinds of other stuff that's going on too, which I won't get into, but it's the funniest part was the Minuteman dude who just bought shit drugs and it only lasted 45 seconds. This guy's trying to entertain children at a kid's party. It's just like, he's just rock bottom for this hero. And he's trying to pot off this DVD. No one wants it. So, anyways, I gave this a 5. I fucking laughed my ass off.
Nice.
It was excellent. Yeah, I loved it. It was what I needed this week. Great, funny, comedy is a hard thing to do, especially in comics. But I really, really, really think this is a very fun and funny comic, and I definitely check it out, guys. If you want something that's kind of on the fringe, like outside of your regular superhero big 2 type comic, and this is a book published by DC, check out Star Squadron. I highly, highly recommend it. Yeah,
nice.
All right, Thor number 20. All right, Chris. Yeah, I got the same cover here too.
Yeah, nothing fancy here.
God of Hammers. What'd you think of this?
I liked everything until you found out the God of Hammers.
Yeah, that was kind of the buildup was excellent. You're right.
Yeah,
it's great about the art was great, kick ass. I love this issue, but you're right. The ending, bit of a letdown, and kind of the reveal. I don't want to say it. It's disappointing to say the least.
Yeah, because basically he's just traveling to all the different realms and they're all being wiped out.
Yes. Yeah, and he puts like the dwarf to rest, who basically builds all the weapons, and he has a great argument with his father where he basically
the interactions between Odin, Loki, and Thor, that was great.
A little bit of family drama, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was excellent. Yeah, great issue. But yeah, that ending, I'm glad you said that because I felt that too. I was like, I'm like, that's it. Like that's
that can't be it, but I hope it isn't it. I hope that's just a swerve or something. But if it is it, then what's this part 2? Do you know how many parts there are to this God of Hammer story?
Probably 5.
I imagine 4 or 5.
4 or 5, probably.
So it's still early, so that could be worked upon, I guess.
Yeah, the big thing though is that in the trail of destruction of him following this God of Hammers, like you just said, there was a moment where Loki shows up because he basically went through Loki's with all the frost giants. They came and fucked all them up. He fucked up the dwarves, and then the last straw, the final straw, was that he went to Broxton, the place on Midgard on Earth that he basically went to, like when you see the Thor film, the first one, like that little town.
Yeah, so that's the city kind of that Thor lived in, let's say.
That's right, where he was a
I figured it was Earth, but I wasn't familiar with Broxton itself.
Yeah, so like if you guys watch the Thor film, if you're not even familiar with it from the comics, basically like that town that he goes to, it's just a small town on Earth that he basically, I guess, first arrived on, where he met Jane Foster, and it's basically, I think, what the film kind of depicted in that sense. Like, I don't know if that's now canon because of the film or if it was prior to. J. Michael Straczynski did a run years ago as well on the character, and the whole thing was that he basically brought Asgard to Earth because something happened to Asgard and they had to basically all move to Broxton and set up there, essentially. Like, he brought his people to Broxton because Asgard got destroyed as a result of something that occurred. So yeah, so it has a long-standing history in the Thor comic books. Absolutely, like, that was back in like the mid 2000s, but that's where they got a lot of the ideas for the film, I think, for in that set. Yeah, so yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, this God of Hammers, if it is what it is at the end of the issue, a little bit disappointing, but it messed up a lot of stuff for this guy right now.
Yeah, like, if I was rating this comic, if you took away that last page, even if like you just saw his face going, "Oh my God, that's the God of Hammers" or whatever, and you didn't see what it was, then I'd be like, "Oh wow, I'm looking forward to the next one."
Yeah,
I would have given this, 4.5, but that last page just really threw me for a loop. It just broke the whole story. I'd give this 3.5.
I'm going to stick with my 4.5. I would have probably given it a 5 if it wasn't for that last thing, because I'm still invested. I'm still looking forward.
Oh, yeah, it's still going on. Like I said, it's only part 2.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe that's not what the God of Hammers is, whatever it is at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be vague because I'm vague, but I don't know what the fucking that thing is.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I'm with you. All right. So next up, we got X-Men number 6. Now, Chris and me actually already previously talked about this today. There was a little bit of confusion, I think, on our parts. Hopefully we're not alone, because we both felt the same about this in this issue, guys. This is the triumphant first appearance of Captain Krakoa, as we call it.
Speculators, get your money. This is another $500 issue if you get it graded.
Yeah, this
thousands, maybe.
Go back to our first episode, guys, where Chris called him Captain Krakoa by accident. But yeah, you were the one that was talking about this issue eventually coming out, Chris. So what do you think about this overall number 6?
Well, I was just curious about this Captain the Captain Krakoa.
Yeah, Captain Krakoa.
It wasn't I think it was just, I don't know if I read it, maybe some of the previews or something, and I thought it was a new character. You kind of see him out there. I don't know, his costume's kind of, there. The big reveal, he looks like very, I don't know, angelic or something there. He's rescuing a cat out of a tree.
And he has like pieces of like the land of
like
coming out of his helmet. He's just got like,
he's got like flowers there. He's got like a flower mullet or something.
Yeah, it's weird.
But even before, I don't know, I guess we can reveal who he is. I don't know if that's, it's not a reveal.
No, it's this guy right here, guys. Cyclops.
Yeah, even like kind of while I was reading that, just with that face mask there, sort of gives it away that it could be Cyclops.
Yeah.
And there's just some stuff in the story that we didn't sort of understand there, because it seems that Cyclops died somewhere. Like, you see some panels there with almost a tribute to Cyclops, all these people crying and, like flowers lit up and pictures of him everywhere.
Yeah, I was saying to Chris, I don't know if it's because of maybe the time that these issues got released. I don't know if they were waiting for Hickman to wrap up his stuff before like they actually talked about this story, because what either happened was he died in one of the X-Men books we don't read, because there's like 10 of them right now. So maybe that happened and we're just not aware of it, or they're still telling the story in this
maybe they'll tell the story next time.
Because in the next issue, it said at the end of this issue, next, the origin of Captain Krakoa. But in this issue, it's called Whatever Happened to Captain Krakoa, which is kind of like a play on the Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, the Superman story, which is like the famous Alan Moore Superman story, which I'm sure that's why they called it that. But, Captain Krakoa is not like a memorable, like he's not like he's a big deal character. He's literally Cyclops gallivanting around like in a...
Yeah, how's he flying though and all that sort of stuff?
I don't know. So Ben Urich, as we established in the last issue, is investigating the mutant regeneration process, and the humans now are possibly going to find out for the first time that these guys can actually come back to life. So, resurrection, not regeneration. So if that is the case, that means that's not good for the mutants, because they're kind of been keeping this from the humans this whole time, that they have these abilities, right? And they've been trying to, he's been trying to suss out like Ben Urich to kind of find out if he's going to move forward with it and stuff by the end of this issue. But meanwhile, he's like running around like in this costume, because it seems he can't assume his identity now, because they're trying to pull the wool over the human's eyes of this resurrection protocol as a result. So that's why he has to now gallivant around as another person, because Cyclops is dead, right? So it's kind of it's an interesting idea. To be fair, it is kind of interesting, but it's kind of stupid at the same time. But it is the X-Men, so like there's a lot of stupid things that come out of the X-Men sometimes over the years. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? It's stupid, or it's kind of like
It's got my interest. It keeps me reading,
yeah.
and I don't know it's a different type of story, and I want to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, but
So
we were just confused if he died in another book or if they're still telling the story of how he actually came to be in this moment in time.
yeah,
Like,
maybe in the next issue it'll be more. It'll
yeah.
be revealed, or it'll make more sense.
Yeah, so that was the only confusion on our parts on this, though. I mean, Pepe Larraz, though, the artist on this, awesome art. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
killing it on this book, and I'm glad he's still on the main X-Men title because he did a bunch of stuff with Hickman, this artist, previously, and I'm glad that they kind of kept him around. I hope he continues with this book because, yeah, the art's
yeah. I think this needs like an A1 artist on there. Like if you get some, some more gritty type of art or something on there, that could just kill this. It
I
makes a bad story better, let's say,
yeah, I
or
think that
worth reading.
yeah, I think this and Infamous, or sorry, what was that one? The Immortal X-Men are the only two titles I'm going to read of X moving forward, though, out of the new relaunches. I think I'm going to stick with this one, and I think
Yeah,
I'm going to check out the Immortal because I heard the Immortal X-Men, the writers say that it's going to play off of this book a lot. Like it's going to be like these two
yeah. It
books.
might be like sort of a behind the scenes of like
Yeah,
X-Men's a team out there, and I think the Immortal X-Men is basically
the
a
council.
follow up to Inferno. Like it's
Yeah,
just the Quiet Council and
yeah,
kind of whatever they're doing.
yeah, yeah. So I think I'm going to stick with those two moving forward, but I give this a 3.5 this particular issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. 3.5.
Yeah. Okay, Chris, next up, Black Widow 13.
Black Widow 13.
Ooh, look at that cover.
That's
Nice.
it. Hold on. Let's say move it over here.
Is that an Adam Hughes cover? It looks like it. That's
Let's
awesome.
see.
I think it must be. I think so. I think that's an Adam Hughes cover. It looks like it to me
I
anyway.
gotta take a look inside, but while I check it out, you know what this comic this was basically a flashback comic.
Okay. That's always fun.
Yeah, it's a good story. Let's see who's the cover artist. Writer, artist. Yeah, Adam Hughes, you got it.
Yeah. He's I mean, a great cover artist. He's awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
And one good thing I like about this cover, it does describe what's going on in the comic here. And basically this is Black Widow meeting, I think the name is the Living Sword. The first time she met a character called the Living Sword and she was fighting him. And so basically all issue, she's just getting her ass freaking handed to her the whole time.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a great story. There's not much dialogue in there, but a lot of action. Actually, I'll leave this open here. This comic here reminded me of the Nightwing one where everything was one panel. They weren't doing the one panel thing, but it was a very sort of linear story.
Mm-hmm. A lot of movement.
And yeah, a lot of movement. You can see them kind of fighting away, just panel by panel, and it's kind of just her inner dialogue while she's fighting them.
Is she in like Madripoor or Japan or something?
Yeah, she's in Madripoor. This is
which is Marvel's Japan, essentially. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They're speaking Filipino in here for something. Yeah, it's Madripoor years ago, so there's no actual timeline.
Right.
She has her sort of old kind of classic costume where it's just the onesie or the leotard or unitard.
I love that one. The one with the bracelets on her arms.
Yeah, the bracelets and just the spider.
Not bracelets,
Black Widow
weapons, but like
the stingers.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's my favorite Black Widow costume. That one, the one piece jumpsuit one. Yeah, that's a costume. Yeah.
And so it reminds me of that one. And it has a scene like this where it's just kind of her. It's pretty much the same thing where you just see
that's
her floating around.
That's
and doing what she does.
That's an awesome double page spread. That's sick.
Yeah, it was a great story. Just I find the art was a bit
inconsistent.
Not inconsistent, just lacking.
Okay. Let me see.
If I could have a wish, if I could get that, it's nothing. It's not bad, but it's not super detailed.
Right. I don't know. I'm kind of digging what I'm seeing, but I would have to read the whole thing. I find that because I read this in trade, Kelly Thompson, the writer on this title, I find her dialogue to be very, very, very good most of the time. Like, she's a very good dialogue driven.
Yeah.
I think she writes very good dialogue of like the characters between one another, because her books always have a great cast of characters in it and stuff. And I don't know if this issue is representative of that, because it's really more of like a past story, but I think that she really has a good voice for the characters she writes. And
I think, like I said, the dialogue and the writing is all great. I just found the art was a little bit.
Yeah.
If it was more like, detailed, or, even something like the X-Men artist or something like that, this would really push this issue right to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And, like talking about that Nightwing one, it was such sort of a groundbreaking type issue. I'm not sure if they've done something like that before. And the only thing I have to say, negative thing I have to say about that, is the story was basically about him trying to get his dog back. So this story seems perfect for that sort of type of issue, and it had some gravity to it,
Right.
Like, she's out there just getting freaking stabbed and sliced open and everything, and at the end, I don't want to reveal how she gets out of it or what happens, but it just seemed to be more of a deeper story with some weight to it.
Yeah.
And that would have really kind of pushed this right over the top.
Right.
But, even just story-wise alone, it's a good 4.5, and I'll take off 5 just because I wasn't a fan of
right.
I guess, the grittier style of art. I don't know what you kind of call it, but, like a page like this where everything's, it's not really crisp lines.
Who drew it?
It's not.
What's the name on the front cover? Who drew it? I'm just interested now, because I think I like that art.
Raphael Pimentel. Raphael T. Pimentel.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with him. Okay.
Yeah, like maybe just since it was a back,
outside the main
an issue, where it's kind of, where they're just going back in time or remembering things.
Yeah.
Maybe they just threw in another artist just to kind of give whoever the artist is that does it regularly to better times. Yeah. But I'll give it a 4. I really did enjoy the comic.
4?
I don't read much. I've never read much Black Widow, and just kind of want to see where this goes, because I think it's some part of some story arc.
Been a good series so far. Yeah, I've read the first 10 issues, I think, in trade, because I think the first 2 collect the first 10 issues or so. It's really good. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, next up, Batman 119. I got this cover here. Chris, do you get a different cover for this one, or you got?
No, and I just got the regular cover there. Okay. Nothing fancy going on, and these covers are pretty sweet too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the reveal at the end of the last issue, as much as I liked that, was the fact that Lex Luthor is behind, I guess, he's basically funding Batman Inc. now, in light of Batman, which I had forgotten about, is broke at currently in the DC universe because of some shit that happened in the main Batman title. He's basically lost all his money. Alfred died. He had a bunch of money that was invested. He gave it to Nightwing. Nightwing gave it away to people in Bloodhaven. He's basically funding all this stuff in Bloodhaven for them, using his money for good. And Lex even makes a fucking joke about that in this. He talks shit about him, basically about his attire, how he's like a bum now. Like, he basically makes all these, which I thought that was pretty funny. But other than that, gotta say, disappointing issue for me. I thought this.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No, from the last issue where it was like, it seemed like an exciting new direction for the book. I liked the moments of them two chopping it up. Like, I will say that the moments, like I just talked about, Lex Luthor kind of talking shit to him and kind of like that, where he revealed, he's like, yeah, I just bought this restaurant or whatever. He basically just
bought that $20 million bottle of wine. And he just dumps it on the ground.
Right. That was great. I thought it was a good characterization of Lex, and it was more of the Lex billionaire versus what used to be the billionaire Batman Bruce Wayne. So that,
and I imagine Lex knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne, right? There's no.
That's why I think he showed up like that, right? Because they were talking shit to each other as Batman. Yeah. And then he shows up to dinner like that. That's what I would suspect too. Like, he knows that it's him. Yeah. So that scene was good. Other than that, though, I didn't dig the direction of the title right now. Like, I was like, okay, he's investigating this murder. He's funding this organization. That things don't seem to be on the level. I don't know. For me, it just kind of, again, felt very run-of-the-mill Batman story. And other than that one scene with Lex Luthor, I was like kind of let down a little bit, at least from the high that I had off the first issue, moving away from Fear State. and then
Yeah.
see where I'm just like, oh, okay, this kind of seems like a bunch of other fucking Batman stories I've already read. As much as I'm glad they moved away from Fear State, and but the Lex Luthor thing's interesting. I will say that the Lex Luthor thing that's going on is interesting, so I like that part of it. But this whole murder and everything else that's going on, it's just like whatever for me. I don't know. You really liked it?
Yeah, well, I like the way I've liked the way they kind of preview this story. Yeah, there's like a lot of swerves, like just Lex Luthor being there. I find this, like, every time I've been reading all the new direction, it's this Abyss character. You find out he's dead, but now he's alive or something. And then Batman and Abyss kind of have their first battle. And I guess Abyss does something to Batman that Batman can't understand. And that's always fun to see because Batman always seems to be 5 steps ahead of everybody when they're doing anything.
Yeah.
And it looks like at the end of this, Batman is in a bit of a tough spot. That, seeing, I guess, some of the future covers, seeing Lex Luthor in a Batman costume might make a little bit more sense now, and kind of seeing how those stories go. So here they're not over, when I read the solicitations or something, they're not overselling this whole story, I find. And I find that refreshing, let's say, compared to other times where everything is oversold and underperformed. I felt this is undersold and overperformed.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And I'll give it a 4 for sure.
I give it a 3. I thought the Lex scene was a 5, but overall, I think
I could have those guys talk together forever.
Yeah, that was entertaining, I will say. And the backup did nothing for me. The Gotham.
Yeah, the backup. Yeah. Well, I haven't had a good backup story yet.
That was a previous series from years ago that was pretty popular with people. It was like an all series. The art was good in it. It's still the same artist. It's still the same creative team. If you guys were a fan of Gotham Academy, if you guys read that out there, that may be checking this out. You'll like the backup. I didn't read it. Christine read it. She was a big fan of it. I read the first couple issues, but it just wasn't for me. It was more of like an all ages tone. But it had its fans. So the fact that they brought it back as a backup, I'm pretty certain people are going to be kind of happy about this one. Some people, honestly, just not me. Like me, it just did nothing for me. It wasn't bad. It was just like whatever.
Yeah. That's an okay read, but
yeah. So I give it a 3. I'm still kind of, I'm still, I still think it's better than what the Fear State, the end of Fear State.
Oh yeah, it's better than I just jumped in on Fear State, so
yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. And finally, Amazing Spider-Man number 84 here for you guys for our comics this week. This issue, basically, finally, we get a Doc Ock, who's been building up his storyline, with May and kind of inching closer and closer to the Beyond Corporation, kind of, infiltrates their facility essentially in this issue, right? What'd you think of this, Chris?
Well, I find it the things I like about Ben Reilly now is I like seeing him get his ass kicked.
Right. Me too. Because he gets his ass beaten. It seems like over and over again. He just keeps getting his ass handed to him.
Even
you suck, bud. I'm reading this like you suck, Ben Reilly.
Because at one point in the story, he had Doc Ock dead to rights. The arms were taken out of the picture, and he's kind of just talking to him. Well, Doc Ock is just walking away to something. He's, hey, buddy, you're going the wrong way. Because I don't think so. And then, pow, freaking tables turned,
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, man. I'm like my favorite part about this was him getting his ass beat. Because he should have a hard time. Like he should.
Well, yeah, he should. Like it's not like he fights him all the time.
At least he doesn't take over for Peter and he's killing it. Like no, he's getting his ass beat all over the town, all over New York. He's getting his ass beat.
Like I'm still waiting for one of these guys to kind of say, "Hey, buddy, are you okay? Because you're not yourself."
Yeah. Yeah, you're not really this bad.
Yeah, hey, you're not as tough as you were. Or, or even the Beyond Corporation is like, hey Ben, how come you let this guy win? This is a character that what do they call him? The legacy Spider-Man had no problem dealing with, and you just got your ass whooped by him again. You're waking up in med bay.
Yeah. So that was entertaining. I liked that.
Yeah, so that's a new direction. I would never think of reading a Spider-Man stories that I'm cheering for the villains here.
Right.
But I guess he's not really acting villainous here. He's just trying to go through the Beyonder stuff, and he's taking care of business there. You're kind of cheering for Doc Ock, and you want You want to see him take apart this Beyonder Corporation or this Beyond Corporation.
Like you had said previously, Doc Ock's actually been one of the more interesting things going on in this current storyline, I think. Like, because he is a villain, I think that his angle on this whole situation currently is interesting. And I always feel that it's fun for the writers to write dialogue for Doc Ock, you know, because he's so
he was never one of my favorite characters, but he has a bit of a whack job the way he talks, you know.
The die is cast, you know, I am superior. Like he's such a pompous asshole. You're just like guy, like, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, he's literally an old science.
Yeah, like he's gotta be freaking like if he's trying to get with Aunt May, so he's got to be a bit of the senior age. This guy's got to be like 70 plus or something here, you know.
Right.
And he's out there, you know, freaking kicking ass and taking names. That's great.
Right. So yeah, what did you think of this overall?
I'll give it a 4.
I give it a 3.5 this one. But yeah.
I thought it was a good solid run of comics this week. There were no real stinkers in there, the ones I picked up.
Not bad. No, like I said, there was kind of some disappointments in terms of like, you know, story choices for me, but nothing where I'm like, I gotta drop this. No, nothing like that. No, which was good. It was a solid week of comics for sure. Okay, so I guess before we get into what we're looking forward to picking up next week, a return of an old segment here that Chris actually started up on the channel that we could do now and then from the vault. So busted out this one that I have displayed here for you guys today. I don't know if I've showed this off on the show before yet, have I? I showed up the Todd McFarlane back.
Yeah, the Todd McFarlane one last time.
There we go. The first Miles Morales appearance, everybody. This is All Out issue number 4. This particular copy is not graded, but I did pick this up off the racks. This kind of signifies my time coming back into comics, probably about over 10 years ago now, kind of getting back into the hobby since a teenager. So that was when I picked this up. What brought me into the comic store was that I heard Peter Parker got killed in the comics. That interested me somewhat. Went to the comic store, found out it's actually this new thing called Ultimate Spider-Man, which is not really the 616 Spider-Man, which I was not unaware of at that time. So I kind of had to wrap my whole head around that whole aspect of it. And my comic book, my LCS owner at that time, explained this whole thing to me. And then so I started picking up the last issues of him getting killed in the main series of Ultimate Spider-Man. And then this came out shortly after. Ultimate Fallout was a 5-issue, I think it was 5 or 6 issue miniseries that basically chronicled the aftermath of Peter Parker in the Ultimate Universe dying and this new kid taking over the reins for him. And this is the first somewhat appearance of him partially at the end of this issue of the Miles Morales Spider-Man. And this is a very valuable issue. If you can get your hands on it and grade it and it comes out as a high grade, this is going for like, if you got like a 9.8 or something, I think recently I saw like $1,500 for like a 9.8 to this. And this is kind of just the tip of the iceberg in terms of him in the cinematic universe already being in the first animated he was in the animated film. And although he did not show up in the new Spider-Man movie, guys, I will tease that for you. Although I don't want to spoil nothing about that film. He is not one of the people that shows up in it, but there is hope for him in the Marvel. He's going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Absolutely. I would say within the next, I don't know, few years for sure.
Yeah. Well, wasn't the Prowler in one of the first movies?
It was Childish Gambino. Yeah, it was it was they basically
or they alluded to him being the Prowler.
Yeah.
Or being actually him being Miles.
Donald Glover, they had alluded to, well, the Prowler is his uncle or something.
Yeah.
In the comics of Ultimate Spider-Man. So, but Donald Glover was campaigning to be Miles Morales in the Marvel Universe for a long time online. Like he said, I want to be the Black Spider-Man. In the Marvel Universe. So he kind of was campaigning for that online, and sometimes those things come to fruition these days.
It's too late for Donald Glover. He's too old. He's aged out of that one.
I don't think it's going to be him, clearly, like you said, but he could be the Prowler. Maybe that is why they alluded to it in that, right? Which is his uncle, right?
Maybe they're going to have old man Miles. Then it could be Donald Glover.
Yeah, different timeline, right?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's all over the place.
But yeah, so I wanted to show that off. It's one of my, cherished possessions in terms of comics at this point in time. And I'm glad that I didn't pick it.
It's a nice comic to come back into. That's for sure.
What I mean, it's something I didn't pick up after the fact. It's not like I I had to pay a lot of money for it. It's not like I kind of like came across it because I knew what it was. Just one of these things, right? Sometimes it works out that way, guys. So
You
yeah,
still have the comics you picked up before, like when you're in your teenage years?
no, I had some, but
They have trash.
a lot of them got destroyed, unfortunately, in a fire, my friend. I had a
Ah,
fire years
wow.
ago, and it wasn't even from getting burned up. It was from smoke.
Yeah.
That will destroy a lot of your possessions, guys. Smoke, and it will actually just destroy shit just as bad. So over the years of moving, maybe throwing things out,
Yeah.
or getting destroyed, my whole almost old comic collection is gone, right? So unfortunately, so I don't have some of the gems that Chris, I'm sure, can pull out in future episodes of From the Vault, guys. This guy's sitting on some keys. Yeah, but anyways, that's all I'm gonna say there. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what future episodes bring. So yeah, there you go. All right, Chris. What are you looking forward to picking up next week, my friend?
Okay, next week. Let's see if they show up at the
Right.
place.
What, this is all right. It's called What We're Looking Forward to Picking Up.
Just look at what we hope to get, because these things are coming out at a snail's pace, I might say. But I'm looking at Daredevil. It's that woman with no fear, #1.
Yeah.
Actually, they had that Electro red, white, and black or something that came out this week. I saw that, but I just stayed away. Just I don't know, just because I want to get this. Those are all just like made up, not made up stories, but
no, but
they're not stories in.
Yeah, in continuity. And me personally, like anthologies always are a mixed bag. Like you'll have one good story and like another really bad one, and then something that's like okay. Like I don't.
All I can say for that Electra, black, white, and red, maybe look at #4.
Okay.
Supposedly the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles might be in there.
What?
Maybe, or something to do with them. I don't know. That's what I hear.
All right.
That's what I hear on the interweb.
Okay.
But anyways, Dark Ages 4, Spider-Woman 18, Amazing Spider-Man 85, Wastelander Black Widow, Robin and Batman 3. I don't know if I'm going to buy it because I missed #2 and that still has never showed up in my shop. And Scorch #1, the Team Spawn. What about you? What are you looking at?
Yeah, I got Amazing Spider-Man 85, Daredevil Woman Without Fear as well. Both of those. Dark Ages as well. Fantastic Four 39. That's been really solid lately.
Let's start with the Reckoning War starting up soon too, isn't it?
Yes, that's happening soon.
Is that a lead into it, or is that they're still finishing up their story, what they got going on?
They're finishing up the She-Hulk story, I think, right now in the next issue, because they just left it on a cliffhanger, that the whole She-Hulk thing with her in court.
Yeah. What happened in there? This is the next issue after that still, right?
Next issue right now, next week.
I might have to get this one too then. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's I know you picked that up after I talked about it. Yeah, that's this next issue. King Conan #2. Love the first issue, so I'm really looking forward to that. King of Spies, that's from Image. I talked about the first issue, kind of like a old washed up dying James Bond type of deal in that. Not washed up, just dying.
Just dying. That's okay.
Marauders. This is the last issue of Jerry Duggan, the current writer of the X-Men title, actually. On the Marauders. They're changing the creative team after this, the writer, and I'm not going to continue.
They're starting #1 again too, aren't they?
Yeah, they're coming out with an annual first, and then I think they're going to relaunch it, but I'm not going to be reading it anymore because I'm not a fan of the new writer, so this will be my last issue of that. So Robin and Batman #3. The second issue was excellent. Maybe I'll have to look out for you if I can find it. Savage Avengers 28. And Stillwater #12. Actually, Savage Avengers #28. That's the last issue of that as well. Also written by Jerry Duggan. So he's wrapping up a lot of things next week. It looks like Stillwater #12, which is an Image comic series. I don't think I've talked about it on the show before. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to next week. I would say out of all these, though, I'm most looking forward to seeing what this Daredevil Woman Without Fear is about, as well as the wrap up of this Fantastic Four and King Conan. So yeah, that should be interesting stuff next week. It looks like a pretty solid week, honestly. Dark Ages, some good stuff.
Yeah, Dark Ages, I've been enjoying that.
Yeah,
it's almost like the Marvel Dark Knights of Steel, but different.
The problem with that is that you just hit on it. That's the same writer who's writing that. He writes like kind of out of continuity type stories. But Tom Taylor, that writer, also writing Nightwing, he's a fantastic writer.
Yeah.
just signed an exclusive contract to DC. So if you thought there was going to be more Dark Ages, guys, unfortunately, this is it. This is it for the foreseeable future. So I'm really disappointed about that. So that's probably why they locked him down. They saw what he was doing across the street. And they're like, hey, wait a second here, you mind?
Yeah. Yeah, hey, just do this for us. Don't be doing this for anybody else.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that Jeff Lemire just signed the Image.
Oh, in the news, everybody. Yes, Jeff Lemire just signed an exclusive Image contract for all his future creator-owned books.
He's doing what, the Swamp Thing Green Hell right now?
Yeah, yeah, and Robin and Batman as well. So he was doing two small little miniseries for DC.
Actually, maybe I will get this last one there because he won't be doing anything else outside of Image.
That's right. So now
I think he's got I was reading he's got something in Dark Horse.
Black Hammer at Dark Horse Comics.
Yeah.
So he's committed to ending out the next couple years worth of work on that. But other than that, everything's going to be Image exclusive, which I'm fine with personally. I like all his creator-owned work. Over the past few years, it seems like he's been bouncing around and still working for everybody. But this will kind of put him on a path of just creator-owned titles for the next, I don't know how long he signed on for.
Well, it seems all these companies are trying to kind of solidify their writers or their key writers at least, and hopefully it'll open up some space for some new ideas out there,
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. All right. So our favorite book of the week. So I got to say there was a couple of close ones for me. So I'll give you a shout out to Thor and also the Dark Knights of Steel. Those came close for me, but I got to give it to unexpectedly for me, Star Squadron #2. It just made me the most happy this week. It made me laugh. I had a really good time with it. It was fun. It was well written. And it surprised me just because it was so much better, I felt like, than the first issue and really what I had come to expect from that release of this comic. So I'm glad that they've now with the second issue, they're kind of on the right track finally with this miniseries. So really solid Star Squadron #2 for me.
I'll give mine to Inferno.
All right.
When I had my stack of comics, it's one of the comics I wanted to read first. And I was happy reading it all the way through. The ending was an ending, but I guess everything can't be earth shattering.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to what they're doing there. Like I know, but these X Lives of Wolverine and all that sort of thing, or the X Deaths, I might get sucked into that, but we'll see. Hopefully it sucks and I can get out of it.
Lots of surfing.
Yeah, if it's just like a Wolverine does Keanu Reeves films, then maybe I'm out.
Hey, John Wick, Matrix, Bill and Ted.
No, I think John Wick is Keanu Reeves doing Wolverine. I don't want to see Wolverine doing Keanu Reeves.
Fair enough. I know Kung Fu.
Yeah, don't worry. Use that line in the new one too.
I haven't seen it. I've yet to see Matrix Resurrected, so it should be interesting to say the least.
Call it like Old Man Neo. That's about it.
All right, so there you have it, guys. Those are our books of the week, our favorite book of the week, what we're looking forward to next week to pick up here. Make sure you hit that like button, the thumbs up. Make sure if you want to continue the conversation, hit us up in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, make sure you subscribe down below in the show notes that I'm doing for you guys every episode. Now we're putting up show notes, so if there's certain comics you want to avoid hearing us talk about, maybe because you haven't read them yet, or certain ones you really want to hear us talk about, just check the show notes, guys. It kind of details every comic we talk about, where we talk about it in the show, so you can kind of bounce around and listen to certain things if you may, you choose to do so. But yeah, make sure you subscribe. There is a link in the notes below to our new Facebook page. That's Late Night Collectors Community on YouTube, and you're going to be able to check back for this show and all of our other episodes in the library, on the playlist, on the Late Night Chat Network for the remainder of January. But then after that, we're going to be only on the Late Night Collectors Community YouTube channel. So we hope you guys follow us over there and you continue to watch this show support, and we appreciate it. And thanks again. We're having a good time doing this. Chris, I don't know about you. I'm continuing to enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm happy to read there. And if there's people out there that are reading something that we're not talking about, just put it down there. I'll be happy to read anything if you think it's good, or even if you think it's crap. I seem to be happy reading crappy comics too. So bring it on.
Yeah. Let us know, guys. And we'll see you guys next week. Later.
All right.